Hello, fabulous writers, and welcome to day 18 of your 30-day challenge. Now that you understand the core structural beats, today's lesson is about act breaks. These are the moments right before the commercial break. Not all, but most TV shows are written with act breaks, which are a natural place for some of your core structural beats to occur, as we discussed on day 13. People will often ask, do I need to write my pilot with act breaks if I plan on selling my show to HBO or Netflix? Yes, the answer is yes. Well, first of all, some of these platforms and Netflix are going to have an option where there's commercial breaks. That'll be cheaper than like buying it with no commercials. But anyway, yeah, the answer is yes. Always write with act breaks for the following reasons. One, it forces you to think about structure as you progress through the development process. Two, it allows you to clearly hit the high and low moments in your story. Three, and most importantly, it gives your story a rhythm that people, audience, and readers are expecting when they read or watch your show. Plus, number four, if your show is later syndicated on a platform with commercials, well, then you've already built them in. You can always remove act breaks on the page in the final version of your script if you choose. Let's take a look at common variations of act breaks from 1-hour dramas, 60-page scripts, and half-hour comedies, 30-page scripts. 1-hour drama variations. There's the teaser plus 4 acts, which most CBS shows do. There's 5 acts, which is fairly common. There's a teaser plus 5 acts, very common, and 6 acts, very common. I personally like the 5-act structure for drama or a teaser plus 5 acts, but when I do the teaser plus 5 acts, I don't call out teaser and then do that and then go act 1. I start the show, fade in, have the first scene, and then at the break of the teaser, I'll just put the name of the pilot in the script there so they can kind of understand, like, that's where you see the name of the pilot, and maybe the credits roll there. And then I'll start in with, like, act 1. So that's how I like to do it. For half-hour comedy variations, cold open plus 2 acts plus tag is common for multi-cams. Cold open plus 3 acts is fairly common. 3 acts is fairly common. 3 acts plus tag is very common. The cold open plus 3 acts plus a tag is very common. Now, well, before I go, let's look at exactly what happens within each act, I want to say that I've been in drama rooms where we've had a variation of all those things, including, I think we did a show once, a drama show that was kind of had I don't remember about that, but it definitely had, I think it was like 4 acts and a tag, which was interesting. Very unusual structure. That was on a show that the showrunner had been a comedy writer before. And, again, it's your show, so you get to make up the rules how you want to do it. You don't when it comes to network, because they will mandate, like, these are our acts because this is how many commercial breaks we have. But sometimes, you just write it how you want and they'll make those act breaks anyway. And sometimes, by the way, you'll be surprised when you see the final cut of an episode where you're like, wait, they move around the structure in the editing room. It's the final rewrite, right? They'll move the structure around, they'll act out on something else for whatever reason, and that occasionally happens. All right. Excuse me while I clear my throat. Going through the 1-hour drama teaser plus 5 acts, we'll focus on that. Here's what happens in the teaser. You establish the world of your show, the time, the place, the arena, the genre, the tone, and then you introduce the main character, their flaw, their redeemable traits, so we know why we like and root for them. And then in the teaser, generally, the why now and inciting incident occurs. Sometimes that inciting happens later, right? Because it's like this why now personal thing that happens. And then, for example, in Breaking Bad, running into Jesse happened later. Also, it's important in the teaser to establish themes. The act out is the beat that leads to the act break, the commercial break, and it can vary in the teaser. It can be the setup of a strong dilemma that will lead us into the goal, or it might be where you establish the goal. Again, this is basically like the rough format of these things, and sometimes there are some variations. In Act 1, if the B story hasn't been set up in the teaser, it's set up here. If it has been established, then we're going to go deeper into the lives of the B story characters. And you'll also set up a goal for your B and C story. If you have a C story, you'll set up conflict. And if the goal has been set up in the teaser, the main character should be actively pursuing their goal in Act 1. And then you would act out on the clear A story goal. Act 2 Build up to your midpoint escalation, your consummation, complication, or twist, which is the biggest turning point of the show, and will be your act out. Act 3, as soon as one problem is solved, then another will probably and should probably appear. So you're creating an escalation of stakes and a ticking clock in the A, B, and if you have it, C, and so on storylines. If plan A didn't work, plan B might be put into action, and then another obstacle. And if you have a strong enough B story, you can act out on that. If not, you will act out on the A story. I will, in a minute, talk about doing things by character and like more of a family drama in a sec. Act 4, the harder you make the central character fight to achieve the goal, the more we root for them and the more devastating it'll be when they have a setback. The act out is on your low point, the all is lost moment, where this central character is furthest from their goal and then often, of course, estranged from their catalyst character as well. Not always, but often. Act 5, the act builds toward your A story climax where the goal is achieved in the way the audience didn't expect. And the remainder is your resolution. Your B and C story should escalate into the climax and resolution as well. Now, that is really like A, B, C. We've kind of been talking about that a lot and how we act out on that. In a show like Bel-Air, because Will is still the central character, even though it's very balanced in a great way with the adult characters and then the younger characters. It feels more to me like a family show. I think it is a family show than it's just a young adult show, even though there's a young adult element to it. It didn't feel like a young adult show to me, which I loved about it. I think it's a great show. Amazing cast. And anyway, because it's about Will, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, we would mostly try to act out on his storyline. But sometimes you're acting out on Carlton, who's another extremely strong character. All of these guys are such fabulous actors. Particularly Ollie, who plays Carlton, is phenomenal. Just phenomenal person. They all are. I love them all. They're so great. They're the best cast ever, honestly, that I've worked with. I can't sing their praises enough. But yeah, we would try to act out on that. And then occasionally you're going to have an act out on Viv or an act out on Phil or whatever. But most of the act outs would mostly be on Will, but again, not all. And when you have these characters and they're having big moments and you're servicing all these characters, it needs to be about them too. In A Million Little Things, you're acting out on, on the different characters and maybe the storyline that's bigger for that particular episode. You're trying to mostly act out on that, but it's always what's best for the story. It's less sort of, on the A story quote, where it's in a medical, legal, or cop show, it's like the A story case. We're acting out on that almost all the time. Or every other act out would be like on the case and then personal, on the case and then the next act will be personal and then on the case, right? So there's ways that you'll see emerge, and you should just watch shows and look at what those act outs are, what you think they would have been. On to comedy. Cold open, 3 acts and a tag. That's what I'll focus on. The cold open / teaser is a setup of concept, arena, world, and main characters, but this doesn't have to be the beginning of the main plot. And then in Act 1, you set up the dilemma for the A and B stories, you establish the goals, the why now and the inciting incident occur here, unless you've already set that up in the teaser, the cold open. Themes will be established and then act out on an obstacle to the goal in the A story, aka your midpoint escalation. In Act 2, you escalate obstacles in the A story, you show conflict and obstacles in the A and B stories. You may have a runner for the C story as well. Act out on the low point in the A storyline, usually the penultimate scene before the act out is the low point for the B story. So it's like a double boom, right? B story, low point, A story, low point. Act 3, build to the climax in the A story and B story if you have one. A story resolution goes here along with the B story. And never resolve any of your storylines in the tag. In the tag, this should just be a funny throwaway moment that is a consequence of the journey your characters have just been on. It can also be called a callback to an earlier joke set up in the pilot. Again, never resolve any of your storylines in the tag. So your homework is, for 60-page scripts, write 3 pages of outline. For a 30-page script, write 2 pages of outline. Don't forget to save the date for January 31st, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be hosting a live Q&A and then a celebration on Zoom. No need to worry, of course. If you can't make it, we'll have it recorded for you to enjoy when it's convenient, but I'd really love to see you all there. And I will see you on day 19 tomorrow.